Back on Game Day Scoreboard, Joe Musso alongside Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, this is unfortunate for both Daniel Jones and the New York Football Giants. We know what this team looks like without him. We've had to watch it for the last couple weeks. As you take that in, this crossroads that the Giants are currently at, the objective clearly changes, but it changes to what?
Now just hoping, right? You're hoping because you look at the success they had last year with the rookie head coach, Coach DeBall making his first opportunity to be the head coach for the Giants, found a way to get into the playoffs, did more with less, to say the least. So the expectations were higher than they were a year ago, and clearly it's been a disappointing start to the season, and they still haven't really found their stride. Dealt with injuries to key players. Your quarterback has already missed time. Saquon Barkley has missed time. Heck, your backup quarterback is missing time now, also in Tyrod Taylor. So not knowing the status of Daniel Jones, clearly seeing how he injured himself today, it didn't look good, but the season is definitely derailed. The train is off the track, and hopefully they can find other guys to step up to make things entertaining, to say the least, for their fan base, and also to try to compete to the best of possible when you talk about the fight that we saw from the same ball club a year ago.
Much was made and has been made about Daniel Jones' contract and what the Giants elected to do with him. They do have a potential out following next season, but another $40 million coming Jones's way. How does this knee injury imply what the quarterback position for the Giants looks like moving forward?
It may be wide open because you look at the structure of his deal. I don't want to, question or talk about what the injury may be, but if it's something season ending and not knowing when he would be ready to go, it's safe to say next year will be in question as well. You know what I mean? So you talk about what happens the year after next. Is he still a part of their plan moving forward as the face of their franchise, and most importantly, the starting quarterback? So this is a very, very difficult situation to be in for the franchise, but most importantly, the here and now, it's a hard pill to swallow.
It certainly is, and unfortunate scenes here as we watch Jones trying to manage that injury. Sustained it, came back for a snap, and couldn't get to the top of his drop. You alluded to Coach Daboll and what this team accomplished a year ago. Road playoff win. You're trying to stack bricks on top of bricks following that. This is a step backwards. Jones's injury this season as a whole. To salvage something productive out of the tail end of this season, the Giants need to do what? Because there are, and albeit a limited amount of them, but there are pieces on this team. There is a vision of what this coach wants to accomplish. How do you wipe this year and try and build off of last year next year?
Right now, you still got to find a way to get through this year. They're 2-7. You look at the next few ball games, they got Dallas, Washington, New England, Green Bay, New Orleans. Teams are winnable ball games. But when you factor in the injuries that the Giants are dealing with, every game is going to be a battle. Every game is going to be a battle. So you talk about trying to salvage this year. Clearly, the playoff hopes, playoff conversations, that's done. But trying to find a way to compete, to fight. And then when you talk about the future for this organization, number one, you got to figure out what's going to happen at the quarterback position if your quarterback is hurt. Number two, figure out what's going to happen with Saquon Barkley, because remember, he's on a one-year deal. And clearly his value is there. We already knew that before you guys declined to give him an extension, but moving forward with him. And then also, too, the final piece for me, one of the more alarming things with me with this ball club, they lack talent. They lack talent. So they have to find a way to improve the talent within the personnel so they can be able to compete with some of the better teams in the National Football League.
And their one source of actual offense, likely not to be a Giant next year either, in Saquon Barkley.
He's on a one-year deal.
7 consecutive games with 17 or fewer points. It is anemic from the offensive standpoint. Let's pivot to the other sideline, because there were plenty of storylines for the Raiders this week as well. We see a former Giants player beat his former team as an interim head coach for the Raiders. We talked about it. Sometimes you get that 1 week bump. How do the Raiders take this 1 week bump and move forward with it? We saw it a couple of years ago with Rich Bisaccia and a team that fully bought into what he was selling.
And got him into the playoffs.
Exactly. I'm not insinuating that we get anything close to that, but how do they make this a productive stretch of weeks?
Just continuing to do what they did today. The thing that I noticed about the Raiders today, from start to finish, the energy, the opening kickoff, you saw guys flying down, fired up, running into people for no reason, making tackles, doing what they're supposed to do. That's what football is about. When you started playing this game as a kid, that's the unique thing about playing football. You get a chance to run into somebody and have fun and showcase how happy you are about doing what you've been called to do. We saw energy. We saw juice. Then secondly, Josh Jacobs showed up in the stadium. For the very first time, it felt like, right? Because he's been missing. You know what type of talent he is. We all know. We saw how much he was able to dominate last year, led the league in rushing. For some reason, he wasn't really showing up. Now they found a way to get him involved in the game as well. So factoring some of those moments from what we saw today, just the energy, the stadium was fired up. They played for their coach. I like what I saw from the Raiders. Now the bigger question is, can they continue to play with that same level of juice? Can Josh Jacobs continue to be a vocal point for their offense? Because with a young quarterback in Aiden O'Connell, it's imperative that you run the football. Josh Jacobs ran the football today. Didn't see a lot from Devontae Adams, but the running game paved the way for their offense, and that's something they would need to continue to lean on if they hopes to continue to find ways to put wins in the column.
Yeah, you get to see what you got there in the young quarterback in O'Connell, and it comes here in, albeit a historic win, 24-point victory, largest margin of victory for the Raiders since 2020, and it comes against the New York Football Giants, who have plenty of problems, both near and long term. The Raiders do as well, to be fair, but a 24-point win is always welcome, and they get one here on Sunday.